Hi everybody, my name is Paolo Gerbaudo. I'm a lecturer in digital culture and society at King's College London, and I am the admissions tutor for the MA Digital Culture and Society. You've been invited to attend this webinar as offer holders for the MA Digital Culture and Society. In this webinar, I want to give you a general overview of what you will be doing next year as students of this MA program, and we'll talk you through some of the contents of the MA program, and then there will be some time for questions about any doubts, any issues you might have, and so that you can go into the summer with no doubts, no problems. Looking forward to starting the MA program. All right, let me just start by giving you a bit of a sense of what this MA program is about. I mean, as the title says, the DMA is about digital culture and society, and its aim is to develop participants' understanding of the role and consequences of digital technologies. I mean, a category that encompasses many different phenomena, the internet, social media, mobile phones, various forms of digital communication, various platforms that we utilize in our everyday life. And what the MA wants to do is to look at the use of these digital media and the different communities of producers, of users, of consumers, the citizens that utilize them. And what is particularly interested in is the way in which these digital technologies impact on various areas of contemporary culture, right? Ranging from performing arts, museums, telecommunications, information technology, philosophy, law, education. Right? So all in all, the mission of the MA is to educate students on the role played by digital technologies in our society and the way in which digital technologies are changing some very important areas of our society. Right? I mean, the way in which we work, the way in which we relate to one another, the way in which politics operate, the way in which our identity is constructed, the way in which our everyday life is organized, and so on and so forth. DMA is a very innovative postgraduate program, is one of the very few of its kind in the UK and overseas. And it has been running for 4 years now, and it has been growing both in reputation and in the number of students. I mean, just last year we had a 50% increase in the number of applications. So based on that, I can say that if you are an offer holder for this MA, it means that you are a good student, a student with good grades, a student that was selected among many students, and therefore we are really looking forward to welcoming you to our MA program. Our staff that will be teaching on the program is a staff that covers the different areas, the different, say, subfields within this broader category of digital culture and society. At the moment, we are 4 members of staff, and these 4 members of staff, which I will introduce to you in the coming slides, look at very timely issues that everybody who is interested in the internet and digital technology is concerned about. Issues such as big data, the role played by data in our society as a means of information gathering, as a means of control, as a means of marketing, surveillance by the state, and many other things. The functioning of social media, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Pinterest, and many others. All these media platforms and the different practices and communities they facilitate. Video games, an aspect, a phenomenon that is has been developing in recent years and has built an extraordinary economy that is now as big as the one of film and of cinema, and which incorporates many of the key themes of digital culture, issues of surveillance, issues of privacy. I mean, many of the issues that we see debated every day, discussed every day on TV, on newspapers, issues that affect directly our everyday life, but also issues around which new forms of economy, politics, and society are developing. And I'll tell you a bit about the structure of the MA and the different issues that are covered in the core module and in the optional module later on. And also I'll tell you a bit about some public events that we have been doing that are relevant for the MA. We've been very active in recent years, both in terms of research, getting large grants, conducting large research projects, but we've also been very active in terms of public engagement. We've organized several research events the students can attend, conferences, and we are looking forward to doing that again this year. All right, let me just introduce a bit the people you will see next year while you study with us. I mean, first and foremost, that's me, Paolo Gerbaudo. My role in the MA is admissions tutor, and I teach on 2 courses on the MA. The first course is Introduction to Digital Culture and Society, which runs through the first and the second term, and the second course is Digital Culture and Political Protest. This optional module, looks at the way in which social media and the internet more generally are affecting different forms of politics, and in particular grassroots politics, protest movements from the Arab Spring in Egypt and Tunisia to the anti-austerity protests in Spain and Greece, Occupy Wall Street, and many other movements that we have been seeing developing in recent years. There you find my email, my Twitter. I'm also very active on Twitter, and my office hours. The second person that you will meet is Marc Coté, who acts as program director for the MA and who teaches also on the core module, Introduction to Digital Culture and Society, and who conducts a lot of research on big data. He has 2 large research projects on big data. I mean, a topic that we saw students are very interested in for quite obvious reasons. He actually also runs an optional module that is precisely on this topic, on the topic of big data. It's called The Social Life of Big Data, and looks at the way in which data, all the data we produce in our everyday life through our internet interaction, by carrying a mobile phone, affects the way in which we live, right? This process that he calls datafication, right? That is the restructuring of society around data and its power. And the third person is Btihaj, Ajana. Btihaj also teaches on the core module, Introduction to Digital Culture and Society, and she has her own optional module titled Bodies and Identities in Digital Media. What this module does is it looks at the ways in which the use of digital media, the use of the internet, social media, and many other digital technologies affects the way in which we perceive our body and our identity. The way in which we perceive proximity and distance, the way in which we perceive our gender, our contact with other people, and the ways in which it affects also our identity, right? For example, the ways in which people utilize Facebook and Twitter to construct a sort of double identity through avatars, through their own descriptions, through tweets, and so on and so forth, and how this construction of identity differs from previous forms of identity construction in previous media eras. And that's another very interesting optional module that you will be able to take next year if you're interested in these issues. There is a 4th member of staff that is not included in the slide because it's just been hired. Her name is Sarah Atkinson. Sarah works on cinema and storytelling in a digital era. She's interested in the ways in which forms of storytelling, the ways in which film producers and script writers and many other similar professional figures are adapting the ways in which they tell story to a digital age, to the formats of the internet, social media, interactive films, and many other emerging forms of storytelling online. All right, now I've given you a sense of the faces you will see next year and of the very great range of expertise that is represented there, right? I mean, we cover the areas that we consider are the most important at the moment to understand digital technology and its effect on society. Again, like to recap, social media, big data, surveillance, biotechnology. I mean, these are issues that are very, very relevant for anybody who wants to develop a professional career in this area, but also more in general, kind of a knowledge, familiarity with the key concerns and the key concepts in this area. So I'll now give you a sense instead of the structure of the degree and how it is organized. So the degree is a total of 180 to 190 credits. And of these 180, 190 credits, 100 credits are covered by core and compulsory units, right? So basically, these are the units where you don't have, which you don't select. You are taking them anyway, right? Regardless of your choice. The first one is the core module, Introduction to Digital Culture and Society, and the second one is the dissertation. Respectively, the core module covers 40 credits and dissertation 60 credits. The core modules runs through first term and second term, and what it is meant to do is, as the name suggests, to give you an introduction to digital culture and society, to provide you with key concepts that are utilized in relevant debates, to give you a sense of what are the main strands of research, what are the main authors that are influencing debates, and also what are the kind of emerging issues, emerging concerns in the most recent research in digital culture and society. The dissertation, as you will know, is a piece of work that is submitted at the end of the program and where you can develop your own research project, assisted by a supervisor who knows well the topic that you want to work on. Right? So these are the core compulsory units, and then we have optional units. Is 80 credits in total that are covered by optional units. So it's 4 units or 20 credits each. Usually students do 2 units in the first term and 2 units in the second term. Students are actually advised not to overdo in any of the terms, to try to keep a kind of balanced schedule so that they can better plan and can maintain a kind of a safe level, say, of workload throughout the program. A pair of you will be studying part-time, and in this case is quite simple. That the structure is, instead of doing 80 credits compulsory unit, core compulsory unit in 1 year, you do 40 credits in the first year and 60 credits in the second year, right? And basically it's 50% of everything, right? As it is explained in the full-time structure, right? This anyway is something that will only affect few of you. And if any of you is a part-time student and wants specific kind of assistance on this matter, you can contact me personally at my email address. All right, let me tell you a bit about the optional units. So as I said, the optional units are the ones you can select. I mean, the core, while the core and compulsory units are ones that you cannot select, that you are assigned anyway. The optional units is where you have a space for choice, right? And there are in semester 1, digital industries and internet cultures, and digital culture and political protest. In semester 2, bodies and identities in digital media. And then there is an internship module that can be taken, that is usually taken in the second term, right? Where you can work with a company or with a governmental organization or non-governmental organization, earn experience there, and at the same time earn some credits. Yeah? On top of the optional units that are offered within the MA, that are offered by lecturers and senior lecturers and professors who work as part of the MA, there are also optional units that you can take from CMCI, the Culture, Media and Creative Industries Department. These include the ones you are seeing here in this list, right? Cultural Policy, Art of Management, Culture and the City, Youth Subcultures. I mean, there's quite a lot of choice there. I mean, the important thing is that you cannot choose carefully, and that you also are aware, of the high level of difficulty of some of these modules, right? We advise you to take at least kind of we advise you to, in general, to be very careful about your choice in taking these modules, right? Shouldn't just be a choice out of fancy, so to speak, but also a choice that really reflects the way in which you're seeing yourself in a career after the MA, and the way in which you want to develop interests that you already had before starting the MA, right? And then there are also modules that you can take from the Digital Humanities department, which is the other department we are working across. The program is working across two departments, the Culture, Media and Creative Industries department and the Digital Humanities department, and therefore you can take modules from both departments. Again, here you have a list that gives you an indication of the modules that are available, right? I mean, might be one or two of them will not be there, and there might be one or two new ones, right? Because things change from year to year. But this just gives you sort of an indication of the kind of choice that is available to you, right? You can see digital arts and culture, web technologies, digital publishing, digital approaches to literature. I mean, there are many modules that are very relevant to the issues that are covered in the MA. I mean, all in all, possibly the DDH modules are little bit more relevant, all in all, to compare to the CMCI modules when it comes to the kind of the core issues that are at stake in the MA, right? So we generally advise you to take a bit more, say, the DDH modules rather than the CMCI modules, simply because they are tend to be more relevant to the core issues that we cover in the modules. But ultimately, the choice on which units you want to take is up to you. But I mean, it's always a good idea to get advice on that beforehand. And there are also other departments that offer modules: English, North American Studies, the China Institute, the Brazil Institute, the Russia Institute. I mean, again, say the choice is quite wide, but again, my advice is to be very careful when you choose the optional modules, and that you are careful that you are not, again, choosing them just because whatever you like games or cultures of secrecy, but because you really see them as helping you develop knowledge about certain issues that you want to develop, say in your dissertation, for example, or in your career after the MA. Finally, internships. Internships are work experiences within a relevant institution. We have relationships with a number of institutions in London, including museums, libraries, non-governmental organizations, and so on and so forth. They count as an optional module of 20 credits, and you basically need to do at least 30 days of experience at one of these institutions. Students are helped to find an appropriate internship, but more kind of specific support, technical support, can also be provided by KCL internships team. And also the internships is as its own assessment, which works through a report and an oral presentation. And on top of the internship, which is not compulsory, that's an important thing. You're not required to do the internship, but you can do the internship. The final bit of work in the MA program is the dissertation, which is the final year project counting 60 credits. What the dissertation does is it allows you to develop a topic of your choice, right? Something you are really interested in, and something that possibly you want to develop also after your MA. Say, if you want to go in community management, for example, after your MA, it might be a good idea to do your MA dissertation about community management. If you're interested in marketing, likewise, it might be a good idea to look at digital marketing, and so on and so forth, right? Dissertations are a unique opportunity for students to really focus on a specific topic and look at it in great depth, collecting information, analyzing data, interpreting it, right? The format is between 12 and 15,000 words, and it's quite intellectually challenging, right? I mean, is usually the first and the second term are occupied by other business, that is by the different modules students are taking, by essay writing, and so on and so forth. But then the summer term is completely occupied by the MA dissertation. You are assigned a dissertation supervisor, one of the four of us who is the one that is closest in expertise to the topic you want to develop. And you have the opportunity to have several tutorials with the supervisor in order to develop your project. So you're not left alone. Yet at the same time, it is important to clarify already at this stage that it is quite a challenging task, right, to do the dissertation. It's something that requires to use your best intellectual ability, your curiosity, and also your persistence, right? But it is also very rewarding exercise if it is done properly. The dissertation is usually submitted in September, obviously not September 2014, right? Otherwise, you would have already missed the deadline. It will be for you September 2016. And let me just say some things about assessment before we move to a conclusion. Assessment work in this way. There is one condonable fail. For example, if you fail one module which is not on the core module, that fail can be condoned, and the degree is awarded then officially in December of the year when you complete your degree, which in this case is again December 2016. And fails on the core module and above one condonable fail mean receipts, right? Which means that you have to wait for 6 additional months to get your degree. One last thing on plagiarism, as a sort of preparation of your studies at King's. I mean, one very important issue, one very burning issue for students is to realize that we take plagiarism very seriously. Plagiarism is basically defined as cheating by presenting somebody else's work as yours. It actually is even broader than that, because there is also self-plagiarism. That is, if you are copying material from one essay you have already written and you use it in another essay, that can also be construed as plagiarism, right? Therefore, according to King's official policy, it is very important that you are able to always identify what you have written and the work of other people, right? That you're very careful with citations, because plagiarism can very badly affect your academic career. You can incur in minor plagiarism, which means that basically you need to recite the piece of work you have plagiarized, and then basically wait for 6 months if you admit plagiarism, or even major plagiarism, which leads to a formal proceeding. I mean, this is just basically to already at the start, even before you have started your MA, to familiarize you a bit with plagiarism as an issue you need to be aware of, so that you don't incur in this problem, and you can basically have a very safe and calm academic trajectory at King's College London. Final thing, support. At King's College, we care a lot about student experience and the way in which students feel about their program, and we really believe that it is important for students to have the opportunity to voice their problems, their challenges, and to have somebody listening to them. This is why each student will be assigned a personal tutor. A personal tutor is one of the four of us, one of the four core staff of the MA Digital Culture Society. And this person is basically the first point of contact between you and the institution for all academic and non-academic matters, right? Say, any issue having to do with your academic performance, problems you're having with a certain module or essay, but also more personal problems that you are encountering in your academic studies. And the personal tutor sometimes acts as dissertation supervisor if the topic that you chose is relevant to his or her expertise, but this really depends on expertise, on the match between your interest and the expertise that we can offer. And there is a great number of services that KCL can offer outside of our departments: English and study skills, careers service, providing you advice on the best career paths to take after your MA, internship, office, and so on and so forth. So this is pretty much everything I wanted to say. Maybe just concluding with this social element of MADCS. I mean, at MADCS, we believe that it is very important to not just to teach students, but also to create a community of students, to allow students, to provide students with possibilities to get to know each other, to express their opinion, and to participate in various activities. That is why we have quite a strong social media presence. We have a Twitter channel at DigCult, right, for digital culture. DCS Facebook page, which you can note down and you can like us and join us there. Then we have talks in digital culture once every 2 months. We have external speakers invited discussing various issues of interest within the field of digital culture and society. We have a yearly digital culture conference. The first year was about girls and digital culture. Then the second year about digital activism. This year it was about big data. Next year will be about digital populism, so new forms of digital politics that are emerging. And you're also welcome to propose your self-organized events, say reading groups, lectures, screenings, and whatever you wish to do while you study with us at King's. So this was my presentation, and now I would like to get some questions from you. All right, one student asks about deferral, right? She's considering whether or not to defer to the next year. I mean, in this case, you need to speak with the admissions office, right? The best thing to do in this regard is to get in contact with the admissions office. So my role is one of admissions tutor. Therefore, I'm responsible for admissions, for delivering presentations, and for contributing to the evaluation of applications. But when it comes to these more kind of bureaucratic issues, the port of call is always the admissions office. They are the people who are the best prepared to deal with these issues. All right, we have another question from Geraldine about registration and attendance. I mean, when do you physically need to be on campus? All right, I mean, the courses start at the end of September, right, on September 21st. That's basically the date when you need to be on campus, absolutely. It is pretty much up to you when you want to, be in London and get settled. What is compulsory, though, is that you are there starting induction week, right? That you don't miss any class beginning with induction week. I mean, it is also important to say that when you come to London, and many of you, basically all of you, are from outside London, it takes quite some time to get settled, right? I mean, you need to sort out accommodation, you need to sort out various bureaucratic issues. So, I mean, I would really personally advise you to come to London at the beginning of September, right? To make sure that you don't rush anything, that you find good accommodation, that you get acquainted with King's, that you get orientated properly, that you get to know all the different services, so that you don't get stressed at the very start of the course. And I have one question on, and you also need to check the conditions of your visa if you are an overseas student, right? Which will obviously affect the kind of the timing of your coming to London. Yeah. Then we have one question about the transmedia storytelling module, which will be happening. So unfortunately, in the slides I presented were not completely updated because we have been in the process of hiring a new lecturer, Sarah Atkinson, who will be running that module. So that module will be happening almost definitely in the second term. Another person is asking about courseworks and exams. We don't have exams. We don't have any exams in this MA. It's just coursework. It's just essays, right? So there is no, it's 100% essays, right? Then there is one question about the difference between DCS, DAM, and DH. All right, let me try to explain the difference briefly. Right, DH and the MA DH, the MA Digital Humanities, has to do with digital humanities, which is defined as the use of digital technologies as a means to support humanities research, the preservation of various artifacts, libraries, archives, right? So, for example, if you're interested in working in a library in the future, assisting people with archives, with the catalogs, or if you're interested in working, I don't know, in archaeology and helping whatever the archaeologists decipher, whatever, an archaeological artifact, that's the best MA for you, right? So it has to do more with, I say, the use of digital technology for the study of humanities and the past, right? Madam, the MA Digital Asset Management, Media and Digital Asset Management, is instead, I mean, as the title suggests, more about management, right? Management techniques, how you manage big databases, how you manage information systems, how you manage, various applications utilized online, right? So it is, say, more practical in character and more management oriented. MADCS instead, its specificity is about being about culture and society. So it is not concerned about technology as such, but about the kind of cultural and social implications of technology, right? It's concerned about the languages utilized online, about the kind of pictures utilized online, about the new forms of community that are emerging, the new practices, the new lifestyles, the new fashions, the new knowledge that is emerging online, right? So it is aimed at students that are more interested in this cultural and creative aspect of digital technologies. That I would say is the main difference. If you are still confused, please ask me another question. All right. Browsing through the many questions you're asking me. All right. There is a question from Kim about the academic calendar. There is an academic calendar available on Kim's website where you can consult term dates and you can also consult your offer holder pack or letter, and there you would find that information. There's a question from Zhao about recommended books or handbook. Right, we don't have a recommended handbook or recommended book that we utilize. However, I think it's a very good idea to get acquainted with the topics and with the various authors and concepts that you will be learning while you're here in London. I mean, my advice is really to go for the most influential authors in this field. I mean, say possibly the most important work in this analysis of digital culture is Manuel Castell's The Rise of the Network Society, right? A very famous book written in 1997, the first edition, and then it was a number of revised editions that try to develop a sociology of the internet, a sociology of social media. Then if you look for on the web, if you Google relevant books, you will find that there's a number of digital culture handbooks. For example, there is an Understanding Digital Culture book by Vincent Miller, which is also one source you might want to consider to get acquainted with these topics. There is a recent book written by TV as Television. That's the name, TV Read. And the book is called Digitized Lives. And that's a textbook that introduces you to digital culture and the different aspects that are involved in this area. One student is asking about how many students will we be. last year we had 40 students. This year we are thinking that we will get around 45 students. So the size is quite a cozy one. It's quite a manageable one. It's an MA that allows students to, relate well with one another. We are not one of those very, very big MAs with that students often complain about, where it's more difficult to get a kind of nice sense of community, nice sense of involvement. And also the seminars that we run are fairly small, around 15 people. And that's also another element that allows students to better interact with one another and get a better sense of involvement and participation in the course. Then there is one question on employers, right? On employment. All right. I mean, we have a very good record on employment. Over 90% of our students are employed after 6 months. And the kind of employments that you get in this area, I mean, as you will know, as people who have applied for this MA, I mean, this is an area in which there has been an enormous development in terms of employment opportunities, in terms of new job figures, right? I mean, it goes from the most obvious, say, working in digital marketing, working in digital advertising, working in digital journalism, assisting in various government agencies with digital issues, working as a social media person, as a community manager. Different corporations, different institutions now need this kind of people performing those tasks of producing messages, engaging with the audience, and so on and so forth. Digital curation, that is a kind of like digital curation of digital materials, archives, artworks, and so on and so forth. But really, I mean, these are just some examples, right? I mean, there are so many other employment opportunities in this area, and it is pretty much also kind of up to you to keep updated on these jobs opportunity. You will get advice from us and from the career service, but it is such a fast developing area that is important that you are on top of things. All right, I have one question about internship opportunities for foreign students. I mean, as I said, the internship is an opportunity, is not something called compulsory, but it's something that many students like to do because it provides them with the opportunity to get some professional experience while they complete their studies. It really depends a lot on what students want to do. We have some contacts that students can activate. We have some institutions and companies that we have already worked with, but in many occasions, the best thing is for students to basically get the initiative to identify the companies or institutions they would like to do the internship with. For example, recently we had some people doing an internship at the British Library. Another person was instead working for a Chinese media company with offices in London. 2 years ago, we had a student interning with Google, right? But it really depends a lot on you, taking the initiative, getting in contact with these people, letting your internship tutor know about this, right? And getting support that way. I mean, this is all in all, say, the philosophy of the MA, right? That the students need to take the initiative, right? That they shouldn't be kind of spoon-fed by us. So these are some of the kind of opportunities that we that are available for your internship. There was another question about the Modern Language Center. We have a Modern Language Center at King's, and they offer many part-time language courses which you can study alongside your MA studies. And you can check the websites for details of what languages we offer and costs for those language courses. I'm not sure that these are free. I mean, regarding your question, I mean, the best thing you could do is to look at the website and make sure that these courses are free, as you said, right? So I I have no definitive response on that. Or you can contact directly the Modern Language Center, and they will be the best person to advise on that issue. All right, there is one question about graduation. Graduation is usually in December, so in your case will be December 2016. All right, there's one question from Geraldine about whether there is any administrative procedure that needs to be completed before the 21st, which is when the course starts, such as module registration. I mean, students are contacted before the date to register that module, but that can be done online. You don't need to be physically present to do that, right? So you will receive an email to ask you to register for the modules you want to take, right? But you will be able to do that online. The important thing that you need to do is to complete enrollment, right? That's the kind of administrative requirement that everybody needs to sort out before doing anything else. And is there any other question? I covered all the questions that I had in my list. I'll wait to see if anybody else has questions. And in any case, we will email you a copy of this presentation so that you have it there on your computer for reference if you have any doubt. Right? And obviously, if you have any further question, you can contact me via my email address, which is visible in this slide here, right? That's my email address, paolo.gerbaudo@kcl.ac.uk, right? And I will answer to your questions. So I don't see any other question. I hope that this presentation was useful to you, and I'm really looking forward to welcoming you to MA Digital Culture and Society next year. Bye-bye.